Final Fantasy is my favorite video game series of all time. I've played this shit since I was a teenager, so like 8 years ago, something like that. 5 years ago, not long, like 5 years. I've been playing Final Fantasy games since 13 came out, which just so happens to be my favorite game in the series. Since getting into this long-running franchise, I've found that I genuinely enjoy most of the entries in it, whether they be a mainline game or something much more akin to a spin-off. One of my other favorite game series of all time just so happens to be Pokemon. Wow, so fucking original. I've been into that rabbit hole of a franchise since the days of Pokemon Blue and Red, so when I heard about World of Final Fantasy, and how it was practically Final Fantasy meets Pokemon, I just about lost my damn mind. But I didn't. I have my mind right here, and it's fine, just fine. Everything is great. My brain is just fine. Today, we take a look at World of Final Fantasy. Let's talk about it. World of Final Fantasy was released October 25th, 2016 for PS4 and PS Vita, as well as on November 21st, 2017 for PC. The story found in World of Final Fantasy is surprisingly cohesive for a game in this series. Yeah, 13 is my favorite game in the series, out of the ones I've played so far at least, but even I can admit that its plot is a convoluted mess that tackles so many different topics, it ends up having no idea what to do with it all. Luckily, World of Final Fantasy is much more tame and way easier to follow. But while the story itself may not be too hard to follow, the way it's presented to the player can be. For good bits of this game, basically the whole thing, you're going to have important questions you want answers to. Sure, some of these questions help to push the narrative, but some of them actually squash my curiosity instead of piquing it. There's going to be questions that also go completely unanswered, like how the siblings lost their memory, or how they ended up in Ninewood Hills. These are questions presented to you from the very beginning, and by the end, they still remain unanswered. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I need to actually explain the plot before I review the plot. It's kind of how these sort of videos usually go, right? Hello? World of Fangel sees you playing as siblings Lon and Rain as they venture into the mysterious world of Grimoire in an attempt to reclaim the memories some random person on the street said they'd lost. This leads them to a magical realm where everyone is too short to ride any roller coasters, and most of the wildlife is out to get you. The two Kitaroos soon learn that they possess a special power that allows them to capture and control these creatures known as mirages. There's nothing wrong with that, right? These creatures don't have families. It's not like they're alive as well and just doing what they think is right. It isn't like they were planning on going home to their families to enjoy a nice meal at the dinner table, maybe talk about their day, catch a good sitcom or something. I don't know, possibly read bedtime stories to the young ones before it's lights out. It's okay though, because you aren't imprisoning them, you're imprisoning them. The more mirages the siblings collect, the stronger they become. So it's off to explore the lands of Grimoire and take every living thing you see. It's hunting season, bitch! Along their journey through Grimoire, the twins meet many other adventurers that generally need your help with something. Many of these characters are actually main characters from other mainline Final Fantasy games. You've got Pointy Hair Guy, other Pointy Hair Guy, Best Girl, Tidus. The list goes on. You also learn of the Baha Men, Bahamutian Federation, a group of big baddies who want to destroy Grimoire. Naturally, as most Final Fantasy games would go, you end up having to save the world. I don't want to discuss much more of the plot as we're now encroaching on spoiler territory, and I know some of you are allergic to that stuff, so let's not get any closer, okay? Overall, the plot found here is decently done. It's nothing we haven't seen in a JRPG before, but it isn't boring or mundane either. There's likable characters that you meet along your journey, and a few good twists thrown in there that you may or may not see coming. Altogether, the game ends well, even if it has you scratching your head asking, what is even going on anymore after a certain point. Ah, fuck, that was my knee. Now when it comes to presentation, Wiffle Ball Offense Factory has something going on that immediately pulled me in. The graphical style here reminds me so much of Kingdom Hearts that it hurts. Mainly because it reminds me I won't be playing Kingdom Hearts 3 until I'm 80 at this rate. It's so vibrant and childlike. It's got such a lovely palette of colors on display in basically every frame that you can't help but stop and enjoy the scenery every once in a while. And to make it even better, it's all wrapped up in this Chibi Art Style. And let me tell you, seeing a chibi version of a character like Cloud, you can't help but smile a bit at the sheer amount of cuteness found here. You also get these awesome anime cutscenes that show up a few times throughout the game, which were a nice added touch and always enjoyable to watch. Musically, the game is also well done, also. As far as the game's OST goes, it's rather forgettable. Not saying that it's anything bad, but there wasn't anything new playing here that decided to rent out a room in my head for a few days. The themes for every mainline entry hero that shows up in this game play as well, and that was something I found myself constantly enjoying. I don't know how I unlocked Sephiroth, but hearing One-Winged Angel play play while a chibi Sephi throws a meteor at your enemies never gets tiring. There's also some soundtracks from other Final Fantasy games playing here, and were all also enjoyable as well. The voice acting in Waddle of Freckle Flossie is odd, to say the least. For example, the main character's voice actors do a good job portraying the siblings, and didn't come off as annoying or cringe, but they still made me uncomfortable every once in a while due to them delivering some poorly written lines. The primals are also found in this game, but don't come off as terrifying almighty beasts like they do in Final Fantasy 15. Instead, they come off as cute little squishy babies you just want to cuddle, and that isn't right. My boy Ifrit don't deserve this. But the worst voice acting here, by far, comes from Tama, the first Mirage you are given. Her voice is a little bit too high and squeaky for my liking, but that wasn't my main problem with her. My big issue was this unnecessary injection of the word "the" before random words in her sentences.
Ribbit? Ribbity the ribbity tip?
God, it's awful. Overall, the presentation here is a bit above average. I had a few issues here and there, but as a whole, it's well done. Wind of Fishy Fallacy plays like most other main entries in the series. You and your enemies take turns moving up a bar on display on the left side of the screen until someone reaches the top. Once someone reaches the top of said bar, they get to use an action and are then put back at the bottom of the bar. Enemies generally attack using physical and magical abilities. Rain and Lon, however, gain access to a few more abilities. You have your basic attacks and abilities, as well as the option to try and escape or use items, which are pretty standard fare in Final Fantasy games. You also get a couple of other unique battle options. One allows you to summon a giant mirage that has its own abilities and combines all of your battling characters' health and ability points together. The other ability allows you to summon heroes from past games in the series to do damage for you. When you aren't engaging in battle, you'll be leveling up your mirages to unlock new abilities, exploring dungeons to find creatures to collect, and generally just advancing the main story. What I found most unique about how this game plays, though, is how you assemble your team. In Weight of Folly Family, you get to stack up to 3 mirages on top of one another to make them stronger. Well, not technically 3 mirages, it's Rain and Lon and then 2 mirages, so I guess there's 3 people stacked all together. I don't know how to explain this. This game is hard to explain. Please send help. Someone send help. I need assistance. Help me. Somebody help me. There is no God. Hello? Stacking not only allows you to laugh at absurd combinations of creatures standing on top of one another, but also allows you to stack their abilities to make them stronger. For example, stacking one creature with fire on top of another with fire ends up giving you access to Fire, a more powerful version of that spell. It also stacks your resistances, weaknesses, health, and magic, so you really have to think about who you stack on top of one another. It was a unique addition to the game that helped make the combat that much more interesting. The gameplay here is well done. If you're a fan of this series as a whole, I think you'll enjoy how this game plays. World of Final Fantasy is the accumulation of some of the greatest things to come out of a 30-year-old series. It truly feels like a celebration of the Final Fantasy series as a whole. It has a few things that it doesn't quite get right, and those things can lead to a bit of frustration during the game's roughly 30-hour playtime, but I think that its positives make up for the shortcomings on display here. I enjoyed the hell out of collecting every mirage I could find, and seeing all of these characters from previous entries in the series. It's a nostalgia trip for Final Fantasy fans first and foremost. Whether you're a longtime fan, or someone who is more casually into Final Fantasy, I think you'll enjoy this game. If you aren't someone who is much into this series, however, I can't say that you will or will not enjoy this game. The story is something you can follow even if this is your first Final Fantasy game, but I do think that having prior knowledge of the characters found in Final Fantasy will make this title much more enjoyable. Either way, I still enjoyed the game to the end. So much so that I'm going to go ahead and rate World of Final Fantasy definitely worth full price. So that was my 2 cents on World of Final Fantasy. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did and want to see more reviews like this every week, then maybe give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to recommend a game for me to review, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.